Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
What happens next?
The War Department is prepared to set the terms.
Happens right here.
To ensure that we get the kind of deal President Trump expects.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The White House says a framework agreement to end the war in Iran has been secured. Iranian officials confirmed that late Sunday. President Trump says the Strait of Hormuz will open Friday and the U.S. is ending its naval blockade. Face the Nation Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told our Margaret Brennan the U.S. will make sure the military option remains.
Our military posture will be whatever it needs to be to ensure they're compelled over this 60 days through the memorandum of understanding that they live up to what they said President Trump led with military might. That military might will stay as long as necessary.
Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
And as we do every Monday afternoon, usually at 4:25, we welcome former U.S. Senator Jim Talent into the program because he is a busy man doing busy things, and he's got places to be. But he said, God forbid I miss a segment of the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. That's the kind of guy that has made News Talk STL so great. Senator, how you doing? Have I pumped you up enough?
Tim, I hardly
He's
know
speechless.
What to say.
He's absolutely speechless.
I have to go to an event for former Senator John Sununu, who's running for the Senate in New Hampshire. And then I have another meeting tonight. And so it is more convenient for me to do this now. And I am grateful that you reshuffled the schedule for me. So thank you.
You know why we're able to do that, Senator? Because we have one of the best, if not the best, executive producers in the land. Joey V does magic with just about everything he touches.
Yeah, and it's radio on the fly, and it's good radio.
It is. Well, Senator, let's get right to it so we can let you go promptly on time, and we thank you so much for this time because there's no way we could have done an appropriate job of discussing everything that's going on in the Middle East and around the planet, so we really appreciate your expertise. Senator, what do you think about where we currently are with the alleged memorandum of understanding, potential peace treaty, whatever you might want to call it? Are we near the end times of the current U.S. military involvement, at least in the kinetic phase, as you military-type folks call it, in the Middle East?
The kinetic phase. Yeah, I think we're near the successful conclusion of this military operation. I'm assuming that the core of this deal is, okay, they agree to withdraw any threat to the strait, and we're going to lift the blockade. And if that's what it is, then I think it's a good deal because it locks into place the successes we've already achieved. I mean, their military capabilities been eviscerated, their leadership's dead, and their economy's been throttled. And I think it's given that we were not going to force the strait, and we can talk about why we have in the past. Then I think this is a really good outcome at this point. And so Iran has been reduced from the status of a really deadly and dangerous threat to a problem that has to be managed and I think can be effectively managed by the new partnership that's going to be running the Middle East. So I'm very pleased about all this. It's obviously we owe everything to the valor of the armed forces, to our allies in Israel, and to Scott Bessent, who is a beast with his sanctions and his other economic actions against the regime.
Senator, last week, Majority Leader John Thune said that under our law, any nuclear deal with Iran will be sent to Congress for review and a vote. Do you expect this deal, the Democrats, to try to stop this deal somehow? And if you were in the Senate, would this be something that you would vote to ratify?
Well, if it's what I just said, yes. I mean, I should say the thing that would concern me, and I doubt very much this is in the deal, is if there is any substantial sanctions relief that would be given them before the performance of anything on the nuclear side. And this deal is not going to resolve the nuclear issue. I'm a little surprised. I actually hadn't read that. I'm a little surprised Senator Thune would say that. The president has a lot of discretionary authority. I mean, obviously, if he doesn't want to continue the blockade, we don't need congressional approval of that. So maybe we ought to wait and see what the details are before I make judgments about whether the majority leader, who is an old friend, is correct in what he said. I would certainly vote for it. Again, unless it contains something that would really surprise me.
Senator, we had a really smart economist guy on Friday. You probably know the name if you don't know the person, E.J. Antoni from the Heritage Foundation. And he said that once there is a serious signal that this conflict could be over, he said markets will react very favorably and oil will plunge. Well, that's exactly what happened over the weekend. And EJ's other point, Senator, reminded me of you because of how much you focus on the issue of energy. Senator, it's so important that the U.S. has done what it's done under the Trump administration, right, with guiding our own energy future. And do you agree that once this conflict is resolved, that because of the other work the administration has done on manufacturing and trade and things of that sort, that there's really nothing stopping this economy from finally moving forward and probably doing so rather rapidly?
Yeah, I think it's already moving forward. Did you see the jobs numbers last month? They were really good. I mean, we're getting a lot of growth. I think we're going to see that continue to be manifested in job numbers. I agree about the effect of this deal on oil prices. And Tim, it's probably worth mentioning that I think one of the reasons why the president agreed to do this and wanted to do it is the threats against the strait are the only leverage that Iran was able to be effective at all in exercising, and it's a wasting asset for them. In other words, we know the producers, the Gulf states, are already moving very urgently to establish means of getting product to market without having to go through the strait. We know that their big customers who are hurt by this, which is not really us, it's India and the Asian countries, and they're already turning to the United States for product, which is very good. So the result of this, I think, is going to be great for our energy production, which, of course, because of the administration's policy, is really surging. So, yeah, I mean, the president's always been a guy who wants to unleash the economy. He's been a president very careful about regulations. He's removed a lot of them. We have a very sound energy policy. We prevented a big tax increase and got a tax cut bill passed last year, and all that means economic growth. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very pleased about the direction of the economy, understanding that these higher oil prices have not been good. I don't like paying any more at the pump than anybody else does.
Senator, after the big UFC fight yesterday on the White House grounds, the president is on his way to France for the annual G7 summit. What do you expect out of this summit? And there was talk prior to this that Vladimir Putin would be invited to this summit. I don't think he was. Would that have been a good idea?
No, I don't see why he should go to that summit. I mean, he's getting stubborn now beyond the point of what makes any sense, even from his own position. I mean, the Ukrainians have actually been reversing a lot of his battlefield gains. They've been striking behind the lines, if there is such a thing as lines anymore, into Russia, in part because we've loosened the rules of engagement on the weapons that they're getting from us, that the Europeans are buying from us for them. So, no, I don't see any reason why he needs to be there. I think he's pretty desperate. I don't mean in the sense of like he's concerned about regime security, but I think he's pretty desperate to figure out a way to end the war that does not look obviously like a complete failure to achieve his objectives. Now he has a reason to do it because the Ukrainians are hitting him so hard. So I don't know how he's going to get out of this box. He'd better come and see if we can help him find an off-ramp that protects Ukrainian security and sovereignty, which is what Trump's been proposing all along.
Senator, another, I guess this headline could be called a direct result of what President Trump and J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and Scott Bessent have all urged Europe to do over the last year plus. The headline is Germany pledges to build Europe's strongest army as NATO allies answer Trump pressure. And apparently, Senator, it's beyond a headline. The subheadline is that Berlin has actually signed more than 380 contracts worth over $33 billion with U.S. defense companies. Senator, has Germany finally gotten the message that it needs to get over its faults and mistakes from the past, and it now needs to help defend the European home front?
Yeah, I think Merz has decided that it's very much in his interest domestically, if Germany wants to be a leader in Europe, to be a leader in building up European defenses. And if there's a country that can do it, it's the Germans. So I think that's a good thing. And it's very consistent with our national security strategy. We want to protect our hemisphere, our border, fight the narco-terrorists, all of those things we've been doing in the Western Hemisphere. We want to deter China in the Indo-Pacific, and we want burden sharing in other theaters. Well, we're getting it in the Middle East with the Israelis, and we want to get it in Europe as well. And I think as we do that, we will downsize our footprint there. I think we're already starting to do it, given the plans that we've submitted, to NATO. And that doesn't mean we can't go back if we need to. Doesn't mean we're abandoning NATO. It means we're right-sizing obligations. There really is. Look, if we can get it past all the hurt pride and all the hurt feelings, it doesn't make any sense for them not to play a greater role in their own defense. And I think they'd become more responsible, as nations, really, if they stood up for themselves a little bit and took some responsibility for defending their own continent. Should have happened years ago. Every president I can remember has been asking them to do it. Trump and Vance and Rubio and Mike Johnson, too, when he went to Britain, have just been saying it's time for this to happen, and I think they are responding now.
Senator FISA, authorization expired on Friday because the Democrats are upset over Bill Pulte being named interim director. It's looking like the current DNI or the future DNI director will be confirmed on Thursday. Will this short time lapse between Friday and Thursday hurt our national security long term, do you think?
No, and Chris, I believe that the statute provides for a transition period in the event authorization lapses so that current authorizations can continue as long as they were certified by the FISA court. So at least the current authorizations are going to stay in place. I don't know if they can do additional surveillance, in other words, where they can start a new surveillance matter, but they can continue the ones they've got now. So, the concern about all this shutting down at a particular deadline was always a little bit far-fetched, but it does need to be reauthorized. And this is an example, actually, people might want to be a little bit encouraged, of congressional action having an impact, because the way that Congress has managed this over the last 4 or 5 years, they really have enacted some good reforms. They've done good oversight. And from everything I can tell, including talking to people, the intelligence community is taking this seriously, and they've reduced the number of abuses by a whole lot. So this may be an example of the system working. And it would be nice, right, for once.
Yeah.
Senator, Donald Trump is in France currently. He's a little closer, I guess, to the Middle East over there, but he's not He has not put himself back in that theater. Apparently, trade fights and other topics are being discussed at the G7. Senator, could you just remind our listeners, what is the importance of the G7, since we've been discussing Europe, and the U.S.'s involvement in that particular group?
Well, it's a good idea to meet periodically with the leaders of other economic nations. It's a regularized forum for some multilateral discussions. And as long as we have somebody who understands what America's interests are and goes prepared to stand up for them, then I think it's useful. If the point of going there is to gather together, with all the elites of Europe and issue, what are at best a bunch of high-sounding, kind of assurance of the rest of it, it's not very valuable. But I think the president will have a number of objectives in mind, some of them foreign policy, and a lot of them will be trade and investment. I mean, Chris just mentioned what the Germans are doing in terms of contracts with our defense industry. That's very important because we're trying to rebuild our defense industrial base, and foreign contracts are a good way to do it. I mean, people will talk about clarity of demand signal for the defense industrial base, which means really the assurance that if they expand, they're going to have customers. That primarily is our own Department of War, but also foreign allied militaries are another important customer, because if they know the business is there, the market will respond and they will expand. It takes time, unfortunately, but it'll happen.
And that is Senator Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator from the great state of Missouri, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council, joining us on a special time today so he can get off to other matters and things. Senator, we so appreciate you juggling things around and still being able to join us today.
Thank you, sir.
You are once again very kind, and I always enjoy it, guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Woo! We kicked off the show in high style and fashion there and got right to it. Chris, there's so much more we can talk about from the weekend. I heard Gabe Pfeiffer term this event this way, and I loved it. He called it the Rumble in the Rose Garden. So we had the Rumble in the Rose Garden. We had the left completely freaked out about a celebration of American patriotism, as they've been doing all year this year, I guess because of Donald Trump. We got the conflict in the Middle East, the ongoing issues in Ukraine, and lots of stuff here on the home front.
A lot of local stuff happened over the weekend that we're going to get into. I want to talk to you about an issue that we're going to talk with David Stokes about tomorrow, but a rebrand sort of Better Together regarding some fire districts here in St. Louis County. And we'll get more detail on that as the show goes on.
Excellent. We'll talk about that and lots more. Chris's Corner at 4:45.
Yes, we will be talking about cutting off the taxpayer-funded resistance.
Ooh.
Yes.
I've heard things about that, so I'm glad you're going to update us on that. At 5:07, the Speaker's stump speech will be Sharia law. Yes, it's actually here. Susie Moore at 5:25, Deputy Manager at Red State, redstate.com. She's got lots of updates on everything going on in the Middle East and more from Red State. And then, Chris, what are we going to wrap the show up with topic-wise?
Oh, Tim, Joe Biden is back, and there's a family feud in L.A. that we'll get into at 5:45.
I like that. Joe Biden's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Family feud in L.A. Wow, what a jam-packed show for y'all. And then we will, of course, hand you off to Larry Connors. He's got some great stuff coming up at 6:05. You got your entire afternoon and evening planned for you. Just stay right here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a great night tonight. Low humidity, low down to 61. And then on Tuesday, late morning, afternoon, watch for a shower, thunderstorm, an isolated storm with some strong winds. Not out of the question, but otherwise a high of 81 degrees. A better chance for some severe weather arrives Wednesday, but not until the evening. That's a First Alert Weather Day, Wednesday evening, for strong to severe storms. Before those storms hit, Wednesday will be hot and windy with a high of 90 degrees and some gusts to 40 miles per hour. Then we'll watch for that storm threat in the evening. evening Wednesday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1.
And always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
I just went to Correll Roofing Company's website, and I see that they have updated some things, so you should check it out as well. Correll. That's how you spell Correll. CorrellRoofingCo.com is the website. CorrellRoofingCo.com is the website. Correll has been in existence for many years now, and their founder, Curtis Correll, has over 2 decades. He's in his 3rd decade of roofing in the region. He is a local guy. He is running a family-owned, independently owned, locally owned operation, and that's Correll Roofing Company. They're fantastic folks. They're not going anywhere. They're not storm chasers. They're not just going to run around the country collecting deposits, never to be seen from again by homeowners. They're going to be here in the region, embedded here, making sure that your roofing, your siding, your gutters is absolutely pristine and perfect anytime it suffers damage from storms, whether that be hail, whether that be wind, rain, or just wear and tear. Yeah, people who are blessed not to have any kind of storm damage ever to their homes, eventually building products do seem to have a lifespan. And so whatever reason that you might want Curtis Correll and or any of his awesome workers to get up on your roof, check out your siding or gutters. They're happy to do so. How do you do that? You go to CorrellRoofingCo.com. Their number is right there at the top of the page. Also, their email address as well. You can contact them 2 different ways. Depending on how busy you are, just send them an email. They'll get back to you right away. Service areas, the entire St. Louis Metro, St. Charles County, and beyond is what they service. They will provide you exceptional service. I know that because I know the Corrells. They're absolutely fantastic people. They have top quality craftsmen, and they want to make sure that you are fully satisfied. That's why they're going to work with you and your insurance company because they know the whole process. They know the game. They'll work with and they'll take care of it, so you don't have to from the very beginning until long after they're done. I would highly encourage you to contact these folks if you have any concerns about the condition of your roof, siding, or gutters after all these massive spring storms that we've had. It has been a very active and busy season. Get the experts up on your roof. Don't you be getting up there. Correll Roofing Company is found 24/7 at CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com.
Michael McGreevy. Escape to Margaritaville night at Busch Stadium on Friday, June 26th. Celebrate the legacy of Jimmy Buffett with a special pregame performance by the Boat Drunks. With a special theme ticket, you'll receive a Margaritaville-inspired Cardinals cap. Plus, a portion of each ticket benefits Singing for Change. Kick back, relax, and enjoy a night where it's 5 o'clock somewhere, even at 7:15 first pitch. Details and tickets at cardinals.com/theme.
This is Jordan Walker. Celebrate Black Heritage Day, presented by your Quality Ford dealers on Sunday, June 28th at Busch Stadium. This special culture and community event honors the impact, history, and legacy of the Black community in baseball and beyond. With a special themed ticket, you'll receive an exclusive Cardinals jersey designed by Corey Rogers. And don't miss a special heritage celebration in Budweiser Terrace before the game. Details and tickets at cardinals.com/theme.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We ended up making a deal. Very importantly, the oil is plummeting down and the stock market is shooting up like a rocket. But we're getting close to the numbers we were before it all started. And the main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. They fully agreed to that with strong policing powers.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and there you hear the president giving some details on the deal that was just signed. But, Tim, before we go and dive into all of this, I got a couple of points of personal privilege that I'd like to go into, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One, those of you that listen to the station regularly know that we have a producer here, Emily Worthmore, who's part-time because she was a full-time student and doing other things, interning in other places. I went on her Facebook page a few minutes ago, Tim, and I see that she has been sworn in today as a political appointee at the U.S. Department of Education.
Hey,
And
congratulations, Emily.
So we want to send out our congratulations to Emily Worthmore. She is, a former producer here, works very, very hard. She's the type of young person that you see all of her accomplishments and you just know her as a person and you think, well, America is not gone yet. We still have youth that are going to be the future leaders of this country, and we can still have some faith in.
She told me months ago that she was very interested in going to Washington, D.C., and should she do that? And I said, Emily, you are a bright young lady who has accomplished so much, and I think you're more than qualified. And so if you're thinking about going to D.C., this is the time for you to do it because you don't want to look back 10 years from now and go, man, I really wish I had done that. And then maybe she gets tied down with another career or a family or whatever. And she said, I think I'd really like to do that. I said, then go for it. I said, you have much to offer. And so I'm so happy to hear that she pursued what she was thinking about. Because, Chris, people tell you all the time, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this, thinking about doing that. She went and did it. And so congratulations.
Dude, Emily Worthmore has a resume to die for. She graduated near the top of her class this summer. In political science. She has interned for Fox News in New York last summer. She's interned here locally with Channel 4. She worked here on occasionally. So, boy, she's got a great resume for just 22 years old, and congratulations to her, and we wish her all the best of luck at the education department and in her career.
When we say living the dream,
yeah,
I think that's what
at 22.
That's what Emily's doing.
Exactly. My second point of personal privilege, as you all know, I disclosed that I was diagnosed with prostate cancer last October, and so of course I'm under treatment and am monitored pretty regularly. Today I had my blood test today, and my PS level is still negligible. Woo-hoo! So the treatment is still working, and of course I want to thank all of the doctors and the staff out at Mercy Medical Center out on Ballas for taking care of me. And I want to say a special hello to Kathy. She is a listener of the show, Tim, and she's a listener of the show, and she's the one that kind of registers me for when I go in to get my blood work, and she recognized me from before. I've had her before doing that, and she's a listener of the show. She knows the commercials, so she's not just saying that, so...
That's Congratulations to you. I'm so excited to hear this excellent news because we have a lot of sad news every so often. We go in cycles, and so it's nice to get some good news to balance it out. And I think that's wonderful. She listens to the show. This will come to me at some point during the show today. I ran in to another lovely lady the other day. Where was I? I was somewhere. We were doing something. Maybe it was you know what? It was at our remote last week at Sugar Creek. This random lady who was there, I think at the end of the remote and for the beginning of the David Castile fundraiser. I can picture her. She was taller, long dark hair, very nice, and she said, I ran into her at one point and we started talking. She said, I listen to the show every day. And I said, oh, you do? She goes, oh yeah, you and Chris are great. I love you guys. I love the Chris's Corner and the Speaker Stump speech. Joey's movie reviews. So she was saying things. I'm like, okay, she listens to the show.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. And she said, I just think it's such a wonderful show. I never miss it. And I said, do you listen to the rest of the station? She said, here and there. So I told her about her other shows. I was like, I'm so glad you listen to us and that we're your favorite, but you can listen to other things too. So I gave her some tidbits about the other shows. And she was so pleasant and so kind. I did not know this woman from a hole in the wall. That's when Chris, we are making a difference in the St. Louis region.
I just always love that type of confirmation because the three of us are in a little room here speaking into microphones, and you kind of wonder, is anybody actually listening to us? And we know people from Hannibal to Mexico, Missouri, and places in between are listening to us. So it's always a good confirmation to know that people actually listen to the show, and then when they recite your commercials, that makes you feel good, too, that they actually are listeners. So thank you, Kathy. Thank you, all the listeners that listening to the show and keeping us on the air. All right, let's get into the hard-hitting news. Of course, Donald Trump and Iran have reached a peace deal. It was officially signed digitally, Tim. We're in the 21st century. We're
hey
signing
peace treaties.
We're signing peace treaties digitally now. The president, I think J.D. Vance, is going to travel to Switzerland on Friday to sign the agreement with the Iranian prime minister in person. The president has suggested, Tim, that we know that the nuclear part of this deal has not been ended yet. That's still further negotiations. The president suggested to the New York Times that he may agree to a 15 or 20-year suspension of Iran's uranium enrichment. That's a lot better than the President Obama's deal, which would have had Iran on the road to a nuclear bomb in 2 to 3 years. Also, the senior American officials have strongly denied, because there's a lot of bad reports coming out saying that we're going to give Iran $12 to $15 million of their money, $1 billion of their money. That is totally erroneous, according to the administration. They will not get any funds until they perform. Also, the Iranian foreign minister, they're still hedging, Tim, even though they're signing this deal. He said that there's a possibility that Iran could impose quote-unquote fees in exchange for the services that are provided instead of tolls. So even though they are beaten, even though they are going to sign a peace treaty, they still can't go away quietly. They're still kind of leaving things up in the air. But
they're just not getting the memo,
They aren't getting the memo. Maybe they need a few more missiles over there. But, and also the president alluded to also about oil prices are dropping. They are, Tim. Brent crude futures dropped 5%.
Yep.
Oil is now $83 a barrel. That's down from the $110 oil per barrel that it was back then.
Big drop.
And European natural gas prices are tumbling too. They are
good.
down 4.7%. So
good.
Looks like we're getting back to normal. Looks like gas prices will be coming down here shortly. How fast, we don't know yet. But this is excellent, excellent news for Republicans, President Trump, towards the midterm elections.
And, Chris, what's going to happen. We could write this script right now for the next Sunday. Let's say this is effectuated this week or whatever week it gets done. The Sunday talk shows will be full of Democrats and leftists who say, so we could bring all our men and women back home. Not a single service member could get another scratch, and we can extricate ourselves back to our normal bases in the Middle East. And Chris, that the left and the Democrats and the media, it's a terrible deal. It's worse than the Obama deal. Donald Trump gave the farm away. What a waste of time and money. We could have gas back at $2. We could have inflation prices down to 2%, and they would still find something to complain about because they just don't care about America first.
And actually, I watched the Sunday show, so you all don't have to. That was really kind of the argument they were making
Telegraph.
already. Yeah, they were already saying that, look, if President is successful in this peace deal, that's a great thing. But all that we're doing now is we're back to the status quo of where we were before this deal is shut. The Strait of Hormuz was already open, but gas prices, gas prices are still high. And one of the phrases that you're hearing Hakeem Jeffries and all the Democrats use, of course, is that this was a war of choice.
You
hear that over and over and over. A war of choice.
Mm-hmm. It won't matter that Iran's nuclear program was bombed. Hopefully, back to the Stone Ages. We'll find out soon enough when the saber rattling begins. But if Iran is quiet as a church mouse and there's no more saber rattling and all that, they won't take that into account. It'll just be war of choice, bad move. We can never celebrate anything anymore in a bipartisan fashion. Look at this America 250 celebration, like you were pointing out. I have not seen a single event, whether it's related to Donald Trump or not. There's a lot of stuff going on, Chris, for 250 that has nothing to do with President Trump, right? It's just different communities do. I haven't seen the Democrats celebrating anything about America's 250th anniversary.
Yeah. There is one thing that the Democrats are talking about, the Celebration 250, Cut 8, Joey, that they aren't celebrating America, of course. They think this was a big waste of time. But they've latched on to this comment that was made by one of the UFC fighters after his fight.
Congratulations, sir. I'm here with the winner, Josh Hogan. Hey, shout out to Trump for having the balls to put some shit like this on. There's only one person more incredible than the Incredible Hulk, and that's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. All right, America!
He went there.
He did go there. I was like, yeah, okay. So, of course, Democrats are up in arms.
Oh, I bet they are.
They
They want to probably take that guy and dude, you know what to him. So, who was that? UFC, big famous UFC fighter?
Josh Hockett? I scratched it out. Hockett, H-O-K-I-T.
I saw
you aware
him.
of him?
No, I saw him. Chris, I wouldn't mess with him.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mess with
He is a big
any of those guys.
He's a big dude. He is a person of color. I don't know his ethnicity specifically, but I just saw a picture of him,
Yeah.
and he looks like the Hulk, man.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, rah, 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 and he just gave it to Michelle Obama.
I mean, this is a sport where it's encouraged to choke people out. You know, even
Yes.
even in WWE, if you're like choking the person, you know, the referee will step in and say you can't do that. But in UFC, it is sanctioned to choke people out.
And these guys are stupid athletic. You know what I mean? Like, they all look like they have zero body fat.
Yeah.
And when you see the thing, I'm not a big UFC guy, but I've seen a few clips and things, and I've watched a couple of some of the fights. They can, they're like vertical leaps are ridiculous, and they, can stand on, the octagon and stuff, and they look like trapeze artists.
Yeah.
I mean, they're incredibly fit, they're incredibly strong, and they're badasses.
Yeah.
And the women are, too.
Yeah. And it's crazy, too, that our Mark Wayne Mullins, former senator, and now Homeland Security, you know, he was a MMF fighter. And he mentioned yesterday about because the fights were going to be outside, it's going to be humid and possibly ability of rain, that he said he would never want to fight outside. He's done it one time, and it just about killed him. I mean, the humidity and the sun on you while you're choking people out can take its toll on you.
And you know who locally was an MMA fighter?
Somebody who...
Senator Ben Brown.
That's right.
And if you saw Ben Brown, if he just walked in the room, you'd be like, who's that little guy? Let me tell you, a couple people have said, hey, friendly to him, hey, let's wrestle, you know? Ben Brown, who's probably my height, maybe a little shorter, and is 130 pounds soaking wet. He's a skinny guy, right? He can take you down in 3 seconds, and you don't even know what's happened. Because they have those moves, and Ben is all muscle.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like it because he's thin, right? But it's all freaking muscle. And he's fast.
Yeah, because UFC, it's a combination of wrestling, jiu-jitsu, karate, and just brawling.
Yes.
I don't know if that's official.
I like that. And the guys who have perfected that, like I said, they can take you down as quick as they can say hello to you and walk into a room. Yeah.
Couple of minutes we have before the break time. I want to get into this situation about these fire districts. Olivet, University City, Clayton, Richmond Heights, Maplewood, Webster Groves, and Shrewsbury, they finalized an agreement of up to $40,000 each to conduct a study on how these departments could merge into one. Now, I am adamantly against the city-county merger. I don't want to see city fire departments merge with county departments, but I think I could get behind something like this. These are all relatively small municipalities, and if they want to pull their resources together and just make one district, I don't necessarily think I'd have a problem with that. What about you?
I think it's a good idea, too. Look, we're not talking about anything, as you just described, between the county and the city. We're talking about the county and it's 85 municipalities and it's 35 different fire districts. We're talking about the county merging services within itself to be more efficient. And you know what, most importantly, Chris? So each one of them can't always ask us for sales tax increases and bond extensions. Wouldn't that be nice if they could do more with less? And so think of it as like the New York City borough plan, right? So this county of St. Louis is like a borough of New York City. Compare it with that. So as long as we're not merging, adapting, cohabitating with the city, I don't see why anybody would be opposed to ending duplicative services in the county of St. Louis.
And it says here that the entity called a regional fire authority wouldn't have the ability to ask voters to raise taxes.
Hallelujah.
So that is
it's a bonus.
That would be a good thing. All right, Chris's Corner coming up next. We're going to talk about cutting off the taxpayer-funded resistance. We'll have all that and more coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
The shaking throw is Cadillac. from the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a great night tonight. Low humidity, low down to 61. And then on Tuesday, late morning, afternoon, watch for a shower thunderstorm. An isolated storm with some strong winds, not out of the question, but otherwise a high of 81 degrees. A better chance for some severe weather arrives Wednesday, but not until the evening. That's a First Alert weather day, Wednesday evening, for strong to severe storms. Before those storms hit, Wednesday will be hot and windy with a high of 90 degrees and some gusts to 40 miles per hour. Then we'll watch for that storm threat in the evening Wednesday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story, sacrifices your parents made for you and you make for your children.
Larry Connors, USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL.
Let me ask you this. Is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks of Missouri is the kind of place you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you on your way. They actually walk with you through the whole process, and that matters because there's no call center, there's no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home. You've been thinking about making it better, a backyard upgrade, maybe a patio, maybe finally taking that family trip you've been putting off. That's where a home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. If you want to inquire more about that, give them a call at 314-212-1500 or visit them online at royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
News Talk STL is turning 5, and you're invited to the party. Join us Friday night, June 26th at Frankie Martin's Garden in Cottleville for a totally rad celebration with the Retro Nerds, St. Louis's favorite 80s tribute band.
Live on the outside stage from 7 to 10.
It's an all-ages show, so bring the whole family and stop by and see us at the News Talk STL Pavilion right near the stage. Frankie Martin's Garden, the place for and about community in Cottleville. Details at frankiemartinsgarden.com.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. Say, we can go
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
One of the biggest promises Donald Trump made to the American people was that he would drain the swamp. Last week, the Department of the Interior took a significant step toward doing exactly that. The department announced it is terminating 43 partnerships with outside organizations, cutting more than $4 million in planned funding after determining many of these groups no longer align with the agency's mission or the priorities of the Trump administration. For years, taxpayers have been forced to fund organizations that often work against the very policies the elected government is trying to implement. Americans pay their taxes expecting these dollars to maintain our national parks, conserve our public lands, and manage our natural resources, not bankroll political activism. According to the Interior Department's review, nearly 3,000 active agreements with about 2,000 outside organizations were examined. The review concluded that many failed to provide a clear public benefit or were operating in direct opposition to the department's mission. Among the organizations losing funding is the Hispanic Access Foundation, which has offered scholarships to illegal immigrant students. Another is Latino Outdoors, which the department says has provided information on avoiding ICE detention while simultaneously advocating against domestic oil and gas development. There's also the American Alliance of Museums, which work with the National Park Service to expand diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives throughout the park system, and Conservation International, which openly advocates for a complete phase-out of fossil fuels while promoting environmental justice policies that many conservatives believe would cripple American energy independence. Now, none of these organizations are prohibited from pursuing their missions. They have every First Amendment right to advocate for their causes, raise private money, and make their case to the American people. But here's the key question. Why should taxpayers be required to subsidize activism that directly conflicts with the policies of the administration they elected? That's not censorship, that's accountability. For years, conservatives have argued that Washington has created an ecosystem where government agencies hand taxpayer money to nonprofits and advocacy groups that in turn lobby for even bigger government and more progressive policies. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle where taxpayers unknowingly finance political movements that they may fundamentally oppose. If conservative administration discovered millions of dollars flowing to organizations promoting border security, school choice, or expanding oil drilling under a Democratic president, do you think the left would object? Of course they would. This isn't about silencing viewpoints. It's about ensuring that federal dollars are spent on the core mission of government, not on ideological projects. The Interior Department's job is to manage America's lands and natural resources, not to underwrite DEI campaigns, environmental activism, or programs that critics say encourage illegal immigration. The left will call these cuts political retaliation. I see them differently. I see an administration asking a simple question every taxpayer should ask. Does this spending actually serve the American people? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time the gravy train comes to an end. Government should work for the citizens who fund it, not for activist groups using taxpayer dollars to fight the very government writing the checks. And that is Chris's Corner.
So, what a coincidence that you did that subject today, because I was actually speaking with a friend who does state party politics stuff, and he does like a lot of the day-to-day nuts and bolts, and he said kind of the same thing. He said, this could totally be my imagination. He said, but the Democrats, with what I view every day, with the social media, with the protests, with the this, that, and the other thing, he goes, something seems off with them. Like they don't seem to have their typical mojo.
Right.
And he said, I wonder if it's because we've largely shut down all the USAID and all the NGOs and all that stuff. So they're going through a massive retooling effort to try to figure out how to get all their ducks in a row wherever they need them.
They need to be just like PBS. The left cried foul when PBS funding was cut off. And guess what? They've raised more money than they ever have from the private sector, from leftist organizations. So if these groups, if they want to stay in business and advocate for their policies, that's fine. But the government shouldn't be the one advocating for them. Go to your leftist activists. Go to your multi-millionaire celebrities. Go to the George Soroses and those types and get money from them, not from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed like we had this unholy trinity for a long time.
Yeah.
Of the media, government, and then the DNC, right? And we've taken a big chunk of the government involvement out, at least for now, and it seems like they're a little a kilter, like they don't quite have their sea legs anymore. I just hope it's enough for the midterms.
And I just hate, too, that once we do have a Democratic president again, and that is going to happen, that all of these groups are going to be back on the government teat and getting their money, advocating against policies that are better for America than what they advocate for. Mm-hmm. That's the only sad thing. I wish there was something that could be incorporated in the law that
permanently.
Maybe right and left groups shouldn't get money. Just cut the spigot off for everybody.
Right. Like if you want to go after your foreign billionaires, your Soroses and all that, okay, fair game. We'll have to go after the people on our side of the coin that we can raise money from. But None of this, you're right, none of it should be taxpayer funded either way. That would be nice.
I agree. All right. We will have the Speaker Stump speech at 5:06. What are you talking about?
Sharia law. It is serious.
And didn't we have Senator Nick Schroer? Didn't he propose something this session on Sharia law? Did that pass?
It did.
Oh, it did.
It passed. It's done. It's Missouri law now that we will. And Chris, the way it was, and Nick actually got a not a single objection in the Senate, because the first thing he did was he didn't call it the anti-Sharia law bill.
Mm-hmm.
He called it the American law for American courts. So if you're gonna be in a court in the United States of America, then you're going to have American law applied. We're not going to have UN law. We're not going to have the Hague law. We're not going to have Sharia law. We're not going to have right-wing law or left-wing law. We're going to have American law. And so that's how he crafted it. He actually told me that he reminded me that when I don't remember this at all, but apparently when I was in the legislature, there was a bill. I'm sure I voted for it, and it died in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Nick got it through both chambers.
What a novel concept. American law for Americans. Wow. Who would have ever thunk it? And then at 5:23, we'll speak with Susie Moore. She's the deputy managing editor at Red State. We'll talk to her about all the big headlines on Red State, of course, particularly today's peace deal between Iran and the United States. We'll see what the headlines, what some of the authors there at Red State think about this big development. Tim, last week we had Kurt Codell on. He is with the Show Me Institute, and he discusses, of course, education issues. We talked about the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and how the Missouri's Education Board did not have a president. Well, one was named today, and I want to know if you know of this person. Her name is Stacy Price, or Priest, P-R-E-I-S. She's from Columbia. She's going to be the interim state education commissioner. Prior to that, she was the executive director of the Missouri Legislature's Joint Committee on Education. That was from 2008 to 2014. So that was when you were in the legislature. I just wanted to ask you, do you know of this woman at all, and what do you think of her as a choice?
I just looked her up, and maybe it's a good thing, Chris. I don't recognize her, which means maybe she was not controversial. The name looks familiar. It's P-R-E-I-S, and she was there, back in the day, but I do not, I'm not familiar with her work.
Well,
so she's the interim, right?
She is the interim, yes.
Okay.
So maybe we'll have her on the show and grill her. I mean, ask her questions.
Ask her questions.
Who knows? All right, we've got a lot of show next coming up. We're going to have the Speaker Stump speech. We're going to have Susie Moore, of course, and at the end of the show, we will talk about how Joe Biden is back. And there is a feud in L.A. I'll tell you all of that coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
Everything's out of control. We can dance, we're doing it from pole to pole. We can dance, everybody look at your hands.
Summer is here at Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses on Juggerman in St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarmandgreenhouses.com.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug.
Hey, it's Jamie Allman. Join me for the 2 Martini Lunch, noon to 2, live from Shorty's Diner this Friday. Stop by for a delicious breakfast or lunch. That's Shorty's Diner on Lackland in Westport.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Treasurer Vivek Malik. You know we can't do an interview without talking about one of your favorite subjects.
That is Show Me My Money. ShowMeMoney.com.
Exactly.
Yes.
Show me the money. All right, how much money are you holding and how much have you given back?
We are holding about $1.5 billion of this money.
Wow.
And everybody should get on to ShowMeMoney.com and look up their name, and I say, come get your money. Indeed.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4
on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says he was looking forward to working with French President Emmanuel Macron as a tentative agreement with Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz.
We've worked on many deals together. I'm very happy to say very signed. The deal's all signed. And the strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found. But it's essentially ships are starting to go out now. On Friday, it'll be completely opened.
Details of the deal were not immediately made public, but it appeared that it would not be implemented until it's formally signed. Mediator Pakistan said that would happen Friday in Geneva. Russian attacks have hit a centuries-old religious site in Kyiv, Ukraine, and killed rescuers elsewhere.
A large-scale Russian attack on Ukraine on Monday killed rescue workers and spouted fire at one of the country's most significant religious landmarks, a monastic complex of golden domes in the heart of Kyiv. Flames and smoke rose from the Dormitian Cathedral of Kyiv-Pechersk-Lavra, also known as the Monastery of the Caves. Avram, a bishop, tells the AP the Russian Church talks about how they care about holy sites. This attack today in Kyiv is an act of barbarism and cannot be ignored. Avram says he's appealing to the international community to respond firmly and condemn the actions of the Russian Federation. I'm Charles Tiledesma.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer says Britain will ban children under 16 from using social media apps like Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube from early next year. Good day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 468 points. The Nasdaq rose 795 with the S&P advancing 122. More at townhall.com.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlowe podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlowe podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a great night tonight. Low humidity, low down to 61. And then on Tuesday, late morning, afternoon, watch for a shower, thunderstorm, an isolated storm with some strong winds. Not out of the question, but otherwise a high of 81 degrees. A better chance for some severe weather arrives Wednesday, but not until the evening. That's a First Alert Weather Day, Wednesday evening, for strong to severe storms Before those storms hit, Wednesday will be hot and windy with a high of 90 degrees and some gusts to 40 miles per hour. Then we'll watch for that storm threat in the evening Wednesday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
It's time to tee off at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge. Experience one of Jefferson County's premier courses, nestled among picturesque rolling hills. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll love the lush fairways, challenging holes, and friendly atmosphere. Make your next round unforgettable at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Open to the public, but you can also become a member. Just log on to sugarcreekgolfcourse.com for more information and tee times. sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with State Representative Bishop Davidson. And Bishop, you've heard the complaints about the proposal. Here's your colleague, Representative Ashley Awney.
Frankly, the only thing that this resolution does is increase sales taxes.
So what does this do and what does it not do if we say yes?
The first part of this constitutional amendment is a constitutional shall. It's a guarantee to the people in Missouri that if they vote for this, that their legislature will enact and shall enact legislation to eliminate income taxes using natural economic growth over time. That means when the economy grows, instead of it going back into the coffers of the state, it goes into the pockets of Missourians. The second part is a constitutional may. It allows the legislature to have a conversation around sales taxes, but only so that they can eliminate income taxes faster and reduce local tax rates like personal property tax and real property.
Get the facts at afpmissouri.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app. And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win election.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Which is going to make their life
the gas
better.
prices were this high under Obama, too. So,
well, listen, no,
and Biden.
Well, I'm not...
Right, President Biden? Didn't we have gas prices at over $5?
No, well, there were gas prices in the immediate aftermath of
and I remember eggs were like $12 a dozen.
Well, that was...
Was that AI?
No,
that can't be real.
I actually looked at the actual video, and Hakeem Jeffries just got taken to the woodshed in his own home turf, Chris, because you could tell the accent there.
Oh yeah.
That was a show that I used to watch every once in a blue. It was kind of like it's like the Today Show version in New York. It's called Good Day New York.
Okay.
And that was just the, normal everyday anchor lady, and she was giving Hakeem Jeffries the business on the morning New York Wake Up New York show.
All right, I'm confused because I thought that was The View. I thought that was Joy Behar.
No, we can only hope.
Yeah,
we can only hope.
I was like, that's why I was like, wait a minute, is that AI?
No.
Is that The View?
It wasn't as good as that, but it was a show that, and because Chris, I'll tell you why Hakeem Jeffries was not expecting that.
Oh no, he expected a friendly crowd.
He was there with his, he had all his Knicks gear on.
Mm-hmm.
He's like very happy for the Knicks winning last night, the NBA Finals. So he had a hat, and so he was expecting a fluff interview on Good Day New York. which I'm sure is usually what happens. But this lady was having none of it. And she was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So it was kind of cool to see a local news anchor not let him get away with the usual Democrat talking points of, oh, it's so horrible. And she's like, whoa, wait a minute. It was worse when Biden was here. This is not, she was like, this isn't great, but let's be honest about where we were just 3 or 4 years ago.
I would have loved to have seen after the interview, the audio tape, did Hakeem Jeffries kind of upbraid her a little bit? Like, hey, I'm a fellow Democrat like you. I'm supposed to get softball interviews, and I'm wondering, did this interviewer get taken into the news director's office after the show? And like, we don't do that to Democrats.
Yeah, and you know what? For all we know, maybe that show is maybe they're center right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Was it Fox?
No, I don't know. It's like the New York program. It's like New York 3 or whatever it is. You know,
is it the Fox affiliate? I wonder if it's the Fox affiliate.
I don't know. I don't know what Good Day New York is under. It's just kind of a random show. Maybe the NBC affiliate.
Yeah.
So very interesting indeed that there are people starting to call out the Democrats even on their home turf or something. Maybe she's mad about the Mondami thing, you know? So who knows? But that was, I thought, a fascinating clip to show you that all is not lost in the Empire State.
They're refreshing.
It is, indeed. Yeah. And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Freaking fast first hour. We kicked it off with Jim Talent. If you missed him at his normal segment, which is almost always 4:25 p.m. Central Time on Mondays, you know what you can do? You can go listen to the podcast. Joey V will have the podcast up right after the show is over. Every single program at News Talk STL is podcasted. And I know many of you love podcasts. Some of you, that's all you listen to. You never listen to the show live. We'd love for you to listen to the show live, but we know that you have commitments and jobs and families and things of that sort. And so we thank you. If you're listening to the podcast, that's fantastic. Jim Talent was on right out of the gates at 4:05. So if you missed that segment, you missed a good one, as he always provides. But you can check him out on the podcast indeed. We've got lots going on in the next few weeks. This Thursday, we have a huge event that we're doing with Eagle Forum at the Lodge of Des Peres. Grover Norquist is coming in for Americans for Tax Reform. We're doing yet another town hall on the huge, ginormous Amendment 5 to eliminate Missouri's income tax. And then a couple weeks later, we have our birthday party. Can you believe we're 5 years old?
Insane.
It really is.
I can't believe I've been doing this show with you for 5 years.
It's really amazing. Joey's like, it seems like an eternity. How you doing there, Joey V?
I was at another conservative station that got sold, and Jeff and Joe, the big bosses here, they came by to look at the equipment so they could buy it. And I said, please take me with you. Whatever furniture you have.
Don't leave me here. Is that the story?
Yeah, I could fit in the back of the truck, put me on a dolly, I'll come with you. And first they had to plug in everything here, and that took a few months. And then eventually I kept bugging Jeff on LinkedIn, and he said, all right, come in for an interview. And I've been here about 5 years as well.
I was wondering where you came from.
Yeah. The Salem affiliate over there with, Larry Elder.
Is that the answer?
That was the answer,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we are the survivors, and we're doing well. We're thriving. We're not just surviving, we're thriving. And we seem to be doing better every month from what we know. Our streaming numbers continue to climb. Thank you all very much. Our advertising numbers continue to climb. Thank you to Ethan, salesman
Yes.
Ethan, and his hardworking team of himself, and also all of us. We all help Ethan. We give Ethan tons of leads. You know what? If any of you out there are like, hey, I know
Good
this
idea.
great business owner, I know they're center-right people, I know they like to do advertising, send them our way. We'll hook them up with Jeff or Joe or Ethan, and we'll give you an offer you can't refuse.
Good idea.
Yeah, indeed. And also, the other thing you can do is patronize our advertisers.
Yeah.
So I just used St. Louis windows to clean my windows. And a lot of the people I talk about, I see them all the time. I was at Newsteaders the other day. Chris talks to Mitch all the time at Royal Banks. And
Don't forget my dentist now. He gave me TV teeth.
Dr. Link.
Yes.
You talk to Dr. Link often. We all talk to our advertisers a lot, and we use them a lot. And so if we have an advertiser that you're like, oh, yeah, I need to get a new roof, call Corel or whatever. Or, if we talk about something that you're interested in, go visit them, give them a call, and definitely tell them you heard about it on the program. That just reinforces that what they're doing with us is paying them in dividends. A lot of our advertisers, they do it because they believe in the station, but they'd like to make a few bucks along the way, too.
Exactly. And when I was at the hospital today talking to Kathy, she said that she had just went over the weekend to Capriati's
Hey.
and said she had the Philadelphia
Philly cheesesteak?
Philly cheese, like,
Yeah.
I don't think they call it that, but she
Yeah.
had something like that, so it was delicious.
I think that's Ken Williams's favorite. I think that's what I hear I can hear his voice in my head.
So advertising works.
It does. It does indeed. We got Speaker Stump Speech in a moment. Sharia is serious. Susie Moore coming up. Of course, Susie is with Red State. She does lots with Red State. She's the deputy managing editor there. She's the host of Red State Radio, which is a really cool product on the weekends. We have awesome weekend programming. Please listen to it. A lot of great shows. Joey runs the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. Red State Radio. We got Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. So many others. And Susie is here every single morning. Yeah, that's the lady you hear with Mike Ferguson. That's Susie Moore. That's her in the flesh. She'll be back tomorrow morning as well. She's going to talk to us, though, in about 10 minutes. Given that it's 10 minutes away, I better get to the Speaker Stump Speech. Let's talk about Sharia in America happening as the nation turns 250.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
I mean, nobody thinks that's a good idea to station that many soldiers at the border. It's not an emergency.
So I found this great piece by a lady I had not heard of before. We have hundreds and hundreds of millions of great Americans. So many awesome people out there doing great things. I've heard of this company. I did not know that this lady was the founder and CEO of it. It's called Revere Payments. They're a conservative financial tech company. In the business, they call them fintech, I guess because that sounds cooler than saying financial tech. Her company serves many of the nation's leading faith-based and freedom-driven organizations. Her name is Wendy Yurgo. She is a Christian, an attorney, an entrepreneur, and as I said, the founder and CEO of Revere Payments. I've been at a lot of center-right events, especially ones that are more religious-based, and I always see Revere Payments there as one of the sponsors. So that's really cool. I didn't know that Wendy Yurgo was the CEO of that, and she's apparently also a prolific writer, and she just published this new piece, Sharia in America. Why is this happening as the nation turns 250? So first of all, for all you liberal leftists out there who are scoffing and rolling your eyes, I know some of you listen to us every day, and you're like, oh, this is tinfoil hat stuff. No, it is not. American law for American courts is something that every state in the nation and the federal government probably needs to pass as well. But thankfully, we have the Constitution that is over our U.S. judiciary. So hopefully we are safe and secure there. But there is a problem in this country. People say, oh, give me an example. Okay, well, how many do you want? How much time do you have? You want to talk about what's going on in Michigan? You want to talk about what's going on in Minnesota? How about what's already happened in Europe? A lot of times we're like a trailing laggard to some of the god-awful heinousness that's already happened in places like Paris, in places like London, in places like Berlin. And if you don't believe me, just look it up. When I was over in Paris in 2016, and I'm not like, oh, when I was over in Paris, I've been to France one time in my life, okay? I'm blessed with some international travel, but I don't travel internationally like some people I know who travel internationally like every week. I travel internationally maybe once every couple years. The family and I went over to France in 2016, and we did a tour. And when we were in Paris, we were near the Seine, right near Notre Dame and all that. And we were speaking with someone who said, all right, we're going to give you some free time. It must have been either our tour guide or somebody with the tour. And they were like, you can go anywhere you want. Do not go in that direction. And we're like, why? They're like, well, that's where the enclave is. And I'm like, the enclave of what? And they're like, well, that's where the Islamist enclave is. Now, I'm not trashing Muslims here. There's a lot of peaceful Muslims in the world, but they were talking about the hardcore, ardent, Orthodox Islamists, right? The jihadis. Well, apparently, they've carved out their own neck of the woods in Paris, and Parisians are not welcome there. So this is what's happened. This is the opposite of the great American melting pot, right? This is the opposite of assimilation. I have no problem with robust, legit, vibrant, meaningful, legal immigration. It is what has made our country great, and it's what can make our country greater into the future. But if you're going to come here and basically set up, little Mogadishu or little Iran or little Somalia or little Russia or little China or whatever it is, and I'm not talking ideology, ethnicity here. I'm talking ideology. It has nothing to do with what you look like or what your immutable characteristics are. It's what you believe, right? We have so many people who have come here from so many different nations, all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, codes, that have assimilated into this country as Americans. And that's what they want to be. And they can, and they have, my family is a perfect example of that, the Italians, they can retain their background and their heritage and their ethnicity, but they can also say, I'm an American first. And the problem is with some of these communities that have refused to assimilate, they are not. They're not France first. They're not the UK first. And they're not America first either. Wendy, and this is a long piece, but I'm going to read the beginning and the end for you to kind of give you a flavor from it, and I urge you to look it up yourself to read the entire piece. Sharia in America. Why is this happening as the nation turns 250? 250 years since the Declaration of Independence, 250 years since a group of men pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to create something the world had never seen before, a constitutional republic founded on individual liberty, equal justice under the law, and the principle that no king, church, foreign power, or religious authority stands above the Constitution. Whether one views it as a product of extraordinary human wisdom, divine providence, or both, the Constitution remains one of the most remarkable governing documents ever written. It is the oldest continuously operating written national constitution in the world. Did you know that? While the average constitution survives less than 2 decades, ours has endured for nearly 2.5 centuries. It's become the model copied by nations across the globe. Yet, here we are in 2026 debating whether states need to pass laws to prevent Sharia law from conflicting with constitutional rights. How is this even happening? Why have so many states, Alabama, Tennessee, Kansas, Louisiana, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Arizona, and now Missouri, passed laws designed to prevent foreign or religious legal systems from overriding our constitutional protections? Why is Texas still fighting this battle today? The answer is simple. Americans see what politicians, media organizations, and activists refuse to acknowledge. They see the demands for special preferential treatment outside the U.S. Constitution. They see the pressure campaigns. They see the double standards. They see what has happened across Europe, as I just mentioned. Most importantly, they understand constitutional government survives only when a nation possesses the confidence to defend its own values and its own constitution. Look at New York City. This is the city that lost nearly 3,000 Americans on September 11, 2001, and vowed to never forget. Yet today, amplified Islamic calls to prayer echo across parts of the city during Ramadan with the blessing of political leaders. Thousands gather for organized prayer events in Times Square. Public Quran distributions take place in one of America's most iconic public spaces. At the same time, New Yorkers have elevated Zohran Mamdani, one of the most prominent Muslim politicians in America, to a position of significant influence in city politics. Whether voters agree with his policies is beside the point. The larger question is why any discussion about the growing role of Islamic identity in public life is treated as beyond debate. Wendy goes on to discuss this at great length, and then she finishes by saying this. America's 250th should be a celebration of the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever known. It should serve as a reminder. Free societies don't survive just on autopilot. They survive because we're willing to defend the principles that made us great. Civilizations rarely collapse because they're conquered from outside. More often, they decline because they lose confidence in themselves. The founders gave us a constitution, not a suggestion, not one option among many, the supreme law. The fact this still needs to be said loudly and unapologetically in 2026 is the real story. Benjamin Franklin was asked what kind of government the founders had created. His answer has never been more relevant than it is today: a republic, if you can keep it. And that's the stump speech for today.
You know, what's very concerning to me and to many Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, is the Senate candidate in Minnesota, Mr. Syed. He has espoused a lot of anti-Islam rhetoric, pro-Palestinian rhetoric, and he's doing very well in that Senate Senate primary up there in Michigan.
And people may be saying, oh, well, what's wrong with the call to prayer and this, that, and the other thing and the handing out of the Quran? Do the Tony Colombo flip test on this. Chris, could you imagine if every day there was a mandated call to the Torah in Times Square and or Catholics We're saying, okay, every day at noon, we're going to stop and we're going to say the entire Holy Rosary, all 5 decades of it, okay? We're going to do that every day. People would freak the heck out, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and not only that, Tim, it's places where they have put these loudspeakers for the daily prayer. They're very loud, and a lot of the neighbors have complained about that. Look, when I was in Israel last year with Becky, and we were in Bethlehem, which is a Muslim city, we were there around the time for the call to prayer, and those loudspeaker systems are very, very loud.
Probably a little jarring.
It was.
Yep. So that's what we're saying. Look, you can come here if you want to be a peaceful co-inhabitant of the United States of America under our U.S. Constitution. You don't get to override it. I think that's the point, indeed.
Amen.
Hey, let's get to Susie Moore. She's standing by waiting to speak with us. Trump warns that Israel's Lebanon strikes could scuttle the Iranian peace deal. We haven't talked about that aspect of all of this. We'll break all that down with Susie Moore next here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
From around the world, in case you they can. Lights, 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 yeah. Lights, 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 yeah.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a great night tonight. Low humidity, low down to 61. And then on Tuesday, late morning, afternoon, watch for a shower, thunderstorm, an isolated storm with some strong winds, not out of the question, but otherwise a high of 81 degrees. A better chance for some severe weather arrives Wednesday, but not until the evening. That's a First Alert weather day, Wednesday evening, for strong to severe storms. Before those storms hit, Wednesday will be hot and windy with a high of 90 degrees and some gusts to 40 miles per hour. Then we'll watch for that storm threat in the evening Wednesday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, this is Chris Arps. If you enjoy a good cigar like I do, check out Dorset Cigar at 11396 Dorset Road in Maryland Heights. They'll help you find the perfect smoke, and they have a fantastic premium selection. Mention promo code NewsTalkSTL for 7% off. Visit DorsetCigar.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
This one goes out to the one I love.
I just spoke with President Trump. He tells Fox News he believes a deal with Iran will be signed in the next 2 to 3 hours. I asked him about the Israeli strikes earlier today against Hezbollah in the Lebanese capital of Beirut. He tells me he spoke on the phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him, "What the F are you doing?" He told the Prime Minister not to conduct additional strikes against Hezbollah so that it doesn't affect this deal from moving forward.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
Yes, she is indeed. She joins us once again here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, our own Susie Moore. She's at Smoozy Q on Twitter X, Deputy Managing Editor, RedState.com, and the co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie, good afternoon. Welcome back to the program.
Welcome.
Well, good afternoon.
Susie, one angle of the potential deal in the Middle East that we have not discussed today was the Israeli angle. And we're getting mixed signals as to whether they're happy or sad. Ultimately, I don't know that they have much of a choice, given their heavy reliance on all things United States of America and our very close relationship. But what say you about the Israeli-Lebanese conflict that could potentially cause some speed bumps in the resolution of this whole matter?
Well, I think that just kind of speaks to the fact that this is an extraordinarily complex situation, and you've got, multiple players with somewhat overlapping interests, but also divergent interests, even amongst those that are closely allied. I'd also think that it kind of underscores the fact that neither is the U.S. Israel's puppet nor vice versa. While we align very closely with Israel, we don't always have the exact same interests. And so sometimes you're going to have some heated exchanges between, for instance, President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think that's okay because I think they understand each other and they work pretty well together. And I think they're going to sometimes disagree even vehemently, but at the end of the day, they're ultimately going to want mostly the same things.
Susie, as someone who has a hobby of visiting presidential libraries, their story by Becky Noble has me very interested. According to the title, the Obama Center is in trouble, and they may need taxpayer money to make up the difference. I looked up a few stats. They've raised $1 billion so far for this library. It costs $850 million to build. That still seems like a surplus there. What's going on?
Well, that's a good question. What's confusing is that there seem to be these kind of cost overruns and issues, and they were supposed to be, when they first started the project, they were supposed to set up a $400 million, some sort of basically an insurance fund that would basically cover any added expenses and ensure that taxpayers would not be footing the bill. Well, they've funded that to the tune of $1 million. So
we'll take the laugh.
There's some gaps there, and it does sound like there are issues with some vendors that aren't getting paid. There's, obviously there have been cost overruns because it was supposed to cost $300 million, and now it's been $850 million. I don't know. I'm not a construction expert, but I don't know how you look at that and go, oh yeah, that's an $850 million structure. But I'm being judgmental. But
just a quick follow up. So, what is Barack Obama is one of the most beloved presidents there is among the Democrats. Why do they only have $1 million in the contingency fund? What's the reason behind that?
I don't know the answer to that because, as you pointed out, they've raised quite a bit of money for it. If the reports are to be believed, they've raised $1 billion for it. So why they haven't taken some of that money and put it into the fund that they were supposed to put it into, I don't know. I don't know where that money is sitting. I don't know what it's being earmarked for. I don't have access to their books. But it does sound like there's some rumblings that there are issues with their finances, and doesn't reflect well on it.
Looks like Michelle and Barack need to write a check.
Mm-hmm.
They got plenty of money, don't they, Tim?
I would think so. They got some zeros, don't they? Yeah, I would think so indeed. Susie, love to hear what you know about the incident, the horrific incident in Texas last week. Even in 2 hours, Susie, it seems like we're not able to get to all the news. I don't think Chris and I talked about this much last week, if at all. There was a shooting in a mass shooting incident in Midland, Texas, last Friday morning. You did an update on the story just a couple days ago. Can you tell our listeners who may or may not have heard about this what that shooting entailed and who this alleged suspect is?
Yeah, there's still a lot that's unknown about it. And to be honest, I did the update on Friday, and then I haven't circled back to see what's new since then. But basically what happened is that there was a confrontation Wednesday between this, his name is Victor Mata Villarreal. He was a resident of Odessa, Texas. I don't know what his immigration status is. But there was some sort of incident or conflict between him and law enforcement on Wednesday, and I think took a shot at an officer and then went on the run. And then Thursday, he proceeded to basically shoot at a bunch of people. One victim died, and then 10 others at least were injured. He holed up basically in a place, and then they eventually got to him. But it's not. I don't know a whole lot more than that.
Susie, I am not a huge soccer fan, but I have to admit I got involved with the hype a little bit on Friday night. I did watch the soccer match, and hooray for the United States for winning that match 4-1. You guys have an article on Red State about World Cup Freddie. Who the hell is World Cup Freddie, and why should I care?
Oh, my goodness. You don't know who Freddie is?
I don't.
Well, all of Twitterland knows who Freddie is. Freddie is one of the many European tourists who is here to attend World Cup games and events. He's from Germany, and very early on in his journeys here, he started posting about his experiences on Twitter and sharing, like, oh my gosh, we're at this Buc-ee's. It's so wild. And oh, wow, we were in Waffle House. And just kind of with a sort of, lighthearted, like he was just so happy to be here, and it just caught fire. And pretty soon, like everything he would post, people would respond to. And he was talking about them driving on the back roads they were in Alabama and they were heading towards Texas. And he was saying how that, he wasn't familiar with Ella Langley, who's a country music artist, but they'd heard a lot of her songs and they were really liking it. And then all of a sudden a radio station was playing her song for them. And before you know it, she was hitting them up in the DMs. J.J. Watt has adopted them in Houston and basically put them up in a really nice, swanky hotel room. So it's basically like, good-natured German guy's adventures in America. And he's like fallen in love with the country. The country's fallen in love with him. So it's kind of sweet to see.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. We're talking to Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State, redstate.com. Susie, what are your thoughts about the pending possible peace deal? The president has been teasing this for several weeks. Maybe that was because he was just working towards it the entire time. The markets seem to think that there's something afoot here. What'll kind of make you feel that we are actually entering a new chapter versus continuing to wait for something to happen?
Well, I think when the details of the deal are released, not by word of mouth, but by the administration itself directly, from what I can tell, and I think the vice president confirmed this morning, the deal has already been signed electronically. They're going to do like a signing ceremony on Friday. But obviously the proof is going to be in the pudding, and that is going to be whether or not Iran can and will abide by the terms of the deal. Depending on who you're listening to, it's the most god-awful thing we've ever done, or it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think, again, it's best to wait till you see the actual deal before making, assertions and judgments about it. Everybody's got an angle, even within the administration. People are going to have different viewpoints about it and maybe different reasons for describing it a certain way. So I'm kind of like in the wait and see camp. I'm cautiously optimistic. I am appreciative of the fact that the markets like it. I am appreciative of the fact that gas prices are starting to come down. But, I'm from Missouri, so show me.
Mm-hmm.
Susie, Vice President J.D. Vance has a new book out talking about his Catholic faith. We talked about this on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show at the end of the show last week. I can't imagine he's going to be selling a lot of books here, but J.D. Vance is scheduled to go on The View tomorrow. Is he trying to sell books, or is this poking the bear?
Yes. I mean, those aren't mutually exclusive. I think probably the book might be the impetus here, but I think JD's never shied away from an opportunity to go toe-to-toe with his political opponents. And who knows how it will go, but I would just say based on my observations, he's likely to have the better of the verbal sparring there.
Mm-hmm. Susie, we haven't really given our listeners an update on Crazy California. I guess they're still counting votes. I don't really know, but apparently they've decided that, unfortunately, Spencer Pratt will not make the runoff for L.A. mayor. I think all of us, if we're honest with ourselves, we were hoping for a miracle. It didn't happen. However, Susie, Steve Hilton, the Republican in the 60-person gubernatorial race, did make the runoff. He'll face off against Javier Becerra in the November general. Susie, I don't think any of us are in any delusions that in a one-on-one race that a Republican is going to beat a Democrat in California. But I guess it is baby steps, progress, that a Republican actually can make a runoff. Now, maybe California, Susie, hasn't hit rock bottom, but they're close.
Well, I think that's a good way to look at it. I agree with you. One-on-one, it's going to be very tough, an uphill battle for Steve Hilton to actually make that. And I mean, for a little while, there was even some thought it might just be a Republican versus a Republican, but that didn't pan out, of course. I don't think the Democrats were going to allow that to happen, no matter what. But it is encouraging, and it is a sign that, all is not lost in the Golden State. There are plenty of sane people there who are wanting to see leadership that does not look like, the crazy progressive left and run the state into the ground. I think with the Spencer Pratt situation, I understand why people have significant questions about the timing of the counting and how that all went down, and I think that that's probably being looked at very closely. I also think that Spencer is somebody who, because of his background and his resources, is well positioned to, even if he is not the person who is named mayor, is well positioned to challenge the status quo there and continue to be a burr in the saddle of Karen Bass and or Nithya Raymond. I think that's a good thing. He might actually be in better position if he's not holding the office than if he is holding the office. Mm-hmm. So while it's disappointing to see the way things went and certainly raises a lot of questions and a lot of eyebrows, I think we're going to continue to hear a lot from Spencer Pratt.
And speaking of California, I'm sure he'll claim this is nothing but political retaliation. You all are reporting that Gavin Newsom is under investigation. It looks like he's throwing his wife under the bus because he says it's regarding her taxes.
Mm-hmm. Well, they file their taxes jointly, so it involves both of them, even if it's, derives from primarily her transactions. I don't know. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but this investigation didn't just start under the Trump administration.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but, Newsom is doing one of two things, perhaps both. A, trying to get out in front of a story and spin it to his benefit, and B, trying to make it seem as though he is a victim of political persecution to bolster his, profile for the 2028 election.
Interesting indeed. Susie, do you have any idea what's on top of the ticket for tomorrow morning when you are back on the air with Mike Ferguson and producer Jerome?
Off the top of my head, I don't. God bless Mike. He allows me to just kind of come in and he surprises me with with what we're going to be handling. I mean, sometimes I work with him to line up guests. I shouldn't say that, but no. I mean, one of the things that I know today we spent a lot of time talking about the sinkhole and a lot of the local issues.
Oh yeah.
Critical to St. Louis and the surrounding regions. We talked to one of the St. Charles County executive candidates, Steve Ellman. So I think we'll probably do a lot more local stuff tomorrow, but then there's also, of course, big ticket items going on nationally. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with this Iran deal, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that some.
Indeed. Well, we'll all be listening. Susie will be back on the air tomorrow morning. Mike Ferguson in the morning runs from 5:30 to 9. Get you going every single morning right here at News Talk STL. You can also check out all of Susie's work at redstate.com. And for What's on Her Mind, moment to moment, at SmoozyQ on Twitter X. Susie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
You as well. Chris, when I heard them talking about this sinkhole this morning, I was like, is that where Godzilla lives? Remember? That was in the remake of the Godzillas. They found this massive sinkhole in somewhere in was it Asia? And it was in like this remote jungle. and they found this huge hole in the ground. They're like, what's down there? And that's how they found Godzilla.
Godzilla was chilling in there.
He was down there, yeah, with all the bad monsters, too. They're all fighting down there in Center Earth or Middle Earth or whatever it's called.
The thing that scares me about these sinkhole stories, and I think it's happened a couple of times in the past, that I don't want to be just driving along and the road gives way and you're like plunged 3 or 4 feet into a sinkhole. Luckily, that didn't happen, but you can see the pictures on the Post-Dispatch. This thing is absolutely massive, and I think it tells that we have some infrastructure problems maybe here in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, we could talk about that with David Stokes tomorrow, because the reason this was created, it wasn't because of Godzilla or any other monsters. It was because of 3 nearby water main breaks that all broke at the same time, flooded the region, and then the infrastructure just collapsed around it.
I mean, can you imagine just driving along and just the highway, the road just gives way?
Suddenly you're like underneath the ground, and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How do I get out?
And that seems like that would hurt.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures right now. This is not a nice looking sinkhole. There's a lot of like, there's infrastructure down there. So there's like beams and there's like metal, and there's like, that would not be a nice place to fall into.
That is the Godzilla of potholes.
It is massive indeed. So just know that that's down near the dome. What a great place. It's where all the intersections come.
Exactly. I thought about that.
We couldn't have a sinkhole out in the middle of nowhere, right? Growing up in Crescent off Lewis Road, we had a sinkhole up there, and it was called the local dump.
Oh,
and we used to take stuff down there, and it was a managed dump, and it was a farm dump basically. Take stuff in there, Chris, and it would just disappear in the ground. I don't know where it went.
Yeah,
but that's what it was.
Maybe a story one day.
Yeah, I'll have to tell all my dad could probably fill in a lot more of the details, but that was back in the day. Peevely Farms Golf Course. Now somehow they filled it in, and it stopped sinking. I don't know how you do that. All right, Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 545. We've got Biden is back and a family feud in L.A.
Yes, sir.
Oh, all that is next. Chris will be reporting on those items and more before we wrap up and get you over to Larry Connors, USA. That's next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have a great night tonight. Low humidity, low down to 61. And then on Tuesday, late morning, afternoon, watch for a shower thunderstorm. An isolated storm with some strong winds, not out of the question, but otherwise a high of 81 degrees. A better chance for some severe weather arrives Wednesday, but not until the evening. That's a First Alert weather day, Wednesday evening, for strong to severe storms. Before those storms hit, Wednesday will be hot and windy with a high of 90 degrees and some gusts to 40 miles per hour. Then we'll watch for that storm threat in the evening Wednesday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Borselli Show.
It's about veterans. Kenny and I are there.
You get that right.
Monday, we will be at the Mid-America Veterans Museum in O'Fallon.
Coming to you live.
9 to noon.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson. Mario's Donut Restaurant, that's your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches, omelets, delicious gyros, and Mexican dishes, to their revamped menu with cannolis, tiramisu, baklava, and danishes. And don't forget those famous donuts. Dine in or carry out, Mario's friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit, or just visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
It's so big, we could only call it one thing. A massive meat sale. This Thursday and Friday at Country Mart in St. Clair. Boneless pork loins, $1.19 a pound. Boneless ribeyes, $14.99 a pound. Baby back pork ribs, $3.29 a pound. Premium sliced slab bacon, $3.79 a pound. Boneless beef tenderloins, $14.99 a pound. Beef sirloin tips, $6.29 a pound. Hurry while supplies last. 2 days only, this Thursday and Friday. See all the items on our Facebook page. Country Mart in St. Clair.
Hunters, now is the time to get ready. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors. Listen, don't wait until the season opener to dial that bow in. Whistle Pig offers paper tuning, bow adjustments, string replacement, and custom arrows. Plus, Hoyt and Bear archery bows, crossbows from 10 Point and Raven, and accessories from all of the top brands. Archery season opens in September, but now is the time to practice and get ready. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. Visit whistlepigoutdoors.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Sanitation workers are still out several hours later. They are sweeping up all the trash, debris, food, and even shattered glass that came from the numerous vehicles that were vandalized and broken into last night. But it didn't start out that way. In fact, the crowds were relatively peaceful in the beginning, basking in the success of the Knicks championship win. But as the night went on, dozens climbed on top of a row of yellow school buses. The crowd ripped off hoods, smashed windshields, and even lit one bus on fire.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and the New York Knicks fans are exuberant about their team winning the championship for the first time in 52 years. Tim, I saw a video on Facebook that is going viral, and I don't know how smart this is, but it was one guy who had a San Antonio Spurs jersey on in New York after New York won the championship, and he literally they were attacking him, but he was fighting back. He was a big dude, but it's like, dude, it's like 1,000 to 1. You have no chance. But they were like beating him up, hitting him, but he was holding his own. And then finally, a couple of police officers came in and kind of
good grief
ushered him out of there. And I'm like, dude, I know San Antonio's your team, but this is not smart to be walking around with a San Antonio Spurs jersey after they just won the championship.
Yeah. Maybe give it a week or two, you know?
But he was holding his own, Tim, and literally it was like 1,000 to 1.
Like a Marvel Avengers movie?
They would come up to him, punch him, hit him. He would run after the person and fight him, and then someone else would like hit him in the back of the head and run.
Oh, my gosh.
He'd run after them. It was just crazy. I'm like, dude, just walk away before you get seriously hurt.
Somebody's going to pull something out, and then you're going to regret it.
Exactly. Tim, do you ever watch Jay Leno's Garage? You ever watch that show?
No, but I was a fan of Jay Leno back in the day, and I've heard about he's a car collector, right?
He's a car collector. Well, it's a show where he and celebrities, they drive in his car, and they drive around and talk.
Okay.
Well, tonight's guest will be Joe Biden. They're going to drive around.
Oh, boy. Driving Miss Daisy.
I hope Jay is driving. Joe and Jay, say that quickly 3 times, are going to drive around Los Angeles County in Joe's vintage, I would say infamous Corvette, the same Corvette that had the classified documents in them, Tim. They're going to be driving around L.A. talking about old cars and maybe politics, who knows? So that's going to be on Jay Leno's Garage tonight. Will you be watching this show?
Probably not, but you know what? I bet you we'll get some good clips from it. I hope we do. I bet it's going to be overly edited.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll probably be in the morning or in the early afternoon. I don't think they're going to be driving around L.A. around 4 or 5 o'clock because we know Joe is not very sentient past 4 or 5 p.m. So interesting. Joe Biden will be on Jay Leno's Garage tonight. And the story I was telling you about, Tim, there is a family feud in Los Angeles. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass's brother signed on to a lawsuit against the city over the Palisades fire. Kenneth Bass, 78, and his wife Cindy, they filed their suit in L.A. County Superior Court on May 18th. The couple alleged that they suffered smoke inhalation injuries, emotional distress, and mental anguish as a result of the fire, which destroyed their Malibu home, according to the complaint. So, wow, you're suing your sister, basically, because a lot of people blame her for the fire because there wasn't any water in the reservoir.
Yep.
And she was in Africa.
Yep. She was in Ghana?
Ghana, I think. And She had been warned a couple of days before that they were going to have Santa Ana winds, that it was going to be a high propensity for fire. She went on the trip anyway, and it's been an absolute disaster for her PR-wise.
I have heard various experts argue that fire, although it might not have been completely preventable, that the damage could have been reduced because between Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, they are regulating the water flow from the north where it rains all the time. And, Chris, it comes down south. It goes in the reservoirs. And they're screwing things up with the reservoir and the water retention because they're worried about the triple-toed, silver-tongued snakefish or whatever. Yeah. And that's why the reservoirs are empty and they can't fight these fires.
We may have to look that up because that might be an actual animal.
It probably
You made up
is.
something. It's probably something close to that. Who knows?
But I've heard exactly what you just said, that, look, you're not going to prevent any forest fire from happening in these areas. It's arid and dry and there's timber. You can deforest some of these areas, and they don't let you touch a toothpick out there. And you can have water available in your reservoirs, but they're apparently, between Newsom and Bass, screwing up the water flow, and they're not doing that either.
Yeah,
a lot of this is self-inflicted.
Imagine that Thanksgiving dinner this year. Oh, don't take it personal, Karen, that I'm suing you in the city. It's not personal.
Hey, why not? Hey, you know what, Chris? It's not their money, so
Exactly.
Karen probably doesn't care.
But still,
more
it's a
taxpayer
little
dollars.
embarrassing when you're
It
running
is.
for office. I was like,
It
couldn't
is.
you have filed this suit after the mayor's race? Did you have to file the suit while I'm in a in a race to keep my seat?
Timing's everything.
That would have been my thing. Just go ahead and do it. Just wait till after November, brother.
Indeed, yes.
All right, we talked with Susie about J.D. Vance. He will be on The View tomorrow promoting his new book on his Catholic faith. Within his book, Tim Vance argues for prioritizing families over gross domestic product, limiting immigration, rejecting universal basic income, and discouraging abortions by improving conditions for new mothers and young children. That's something that members of The View should be in support, right?
You would think so, yeah.
But we know they won't.
Hey, have they had the J.D. Vance thing yet, or is that coming up?
That's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Yes,
we're
it's
gonna
tomorrow.
have to get some clips.
Oh,
from
we're gonna that may be all the clips we have for the entire show, or just clips from The View.
Let's have Joey push the play button, and you and I can, go take a vacation.
Also notable in the book, Tim, Vance said that his childless cat lady's comments, he said that was a clear moment where I failed.
Okay.
I thought it was funny.
I think it's funny, too. Get a sense of humor. Okay, he was joking, right? I don't know if he's really talking about... He wasn't talking about someone who actually exists, although those people probably do exist.
do exist, yes.
So he was joking,
Not the little contrition there. He said his comment I wasn't at my best when I said that.
He seems like a good dude. He seems like a guy... There's certain politicians that you're like, I could never hang out with them. And there's others on both sides of the aisle where you're like, yeah, I could probably hang out with them.
Got a nice beard as a beard guy.
He does. He does have a heck of a beard.
Yeah. You remember the controversy early this year where the president is accepting a luxury jet from Qatar.
Big jet.
And it's going to be designated as the new Air Force One, and the president is going to keep that jet after his presidency. Yes. Well, NBC is reporting, Tim, that he may take possession of that trip before July 4th. And his first trip will be to Mount Rushmore as part of the festivities for America's 250th birthday party. So the new Air Force One will make its debut during America's birthday.
You know what's coming.
The liberals are going to have
that, and you know what's coming. He is going to, at some point, suggest that he be on Mount Rushmore, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose their ever-loving minds like they've never lost them before.
And finally, White House officials insist that President Trump is not sleeping during public events.
Okay.
He is, quote, actively listening with his eyes closed.
I do that all the time.
I do that all the time as well. All right, it has been a great show today. Thank you for listening into the show. Of course, coming up next is Larry Connors USA. His big story behind the story tonight is sacrifices your parents made for you. And, Tim, you have talked about that many times, the sacrifices that your parents made for you and your siblings to attend private schools and give you the excellent life that you have now. Larry's probably going to tell of his own experiences and have a little personal story about that as well. So Larry Connors USA is up next. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.